College Hoops continues. South Carolina hosts Holy Cross inside Colonial Life Arena. Here with Dane Bradshaw, Kevin Fitzgerald. Last year's school record tying 25 wins for the Gamecocks, and Frank Martin's team, he says, could be even better this season. He needs key contributions, though, from two sophomores this year.
Coach Martin knows what he's going to get from his seniors, but it's the super sophomores and P.J. Dozier and Chris Silva that could take this team to the next level. Both have had tremendous offseason. P.J. Dozier in the backcourt, Chris Silva in the front court, and they should be primed for a terrific year.
Yeah, goodness, the second meeting between these two teams. And it's Chris Silva and Jahiva Floyd and get it started in South Carolina. Begins with the basketball. They're the white, and Holy Cross is in the purple. Opening weekend of college hoops. It's fun to have basketball back. South Carolina winners on Friday. And good ball movement here. That is Shadarius Thornwell for the first bucket. He is the leader, the heart and soul of this team. No other way around it.
Really good sign for the Gamecocks. Holy Cross opens up in a zone because they want to dictate the tempo, but Thornwell gives up the back door on the other end. Fortunately, he's athletic enough to recover.
Great defender. It's not an all-SEC defensive team, and that's his block.
21 throws the ball away.
And a whistle away from the ball.
He's lucky he's athletic because the first test of this Princeton-type offense, Thornwell failed, but some guys are good enough to recover.
He led this team with a few blocks a game a year ago. Thornwell, very athletic. He is the senior. Nice cut, the freshman Mike Kotsar, but offensive foul. And that's his first.
The defender gets outside of that restricted area, takes the charge. Kotsar got in foul trouble in the first game. He's going to have to be careful and cautious on the other end, make sure he doesn't pick up a quick second.
Yeah, so Dane Kotsar, one of the new freshmen into the rotation, and the front court is pretty young for South Carolina. There's Silva, who you pointed out. He's bodying with Malachi Alexander. Another good cut from Robert Champion. And he's got 2 free throws coming.
And Coach Martin's holding up 2 fingers to Shadarius Thornwell because that's twice in 2 possessions. He's gotten back cut. But you know what? No matter how much you practice and scout against the backdoor Princeton-type offense, sometimes the players don't believe and buy in until they actually get tricked a couple of times. So I would think Shadarius Thornwell will know better the next time around.
By the way, that's 2 fouls already on Kotsar. You just pointed it out. And here comes Hadim Gee.
Kotsar's got a really bright future. This is the type of player you can put on the court and you know what you're going to get. Fundamentally sound, very tough. Very mature for his age, but just has to stay out of foul trouble.
See the furrowed brow on the sideline. It's from Estonia. And Silva had it out of bounds. Plenty of new faces. Hadim Gee, one of the freshmen that we talked about, and Frank Martin's team, 25 wins a year ago, but outside of the NCAA tournament, went to the NIT. Take a look at the motion. Another backdoor cut. Dozier got a finger on it, but a recovery that time. That's Patrick Benzin. Holy Cross with the 1-point edge. Notice. He's a good 3-point shooter. And Thornwell. This is what Frank Martin wants. A little ball movement. Down and out, though. P.J. Dozier's trying. Now the Gamecocks back on defense. What can we expect from the Holy Cross offense? You pointed out some backdoor cuts. They're going to move a lot, aren't they?
And they like to work it out of this elbow and high post. South Carolina can't allow Holy Cross to be comfortable in their action. They have to do pressure on the outside.
Into the lane once again. That's Thompson. Good pressure at the rim. Dozier to notice. Extra pass to Thornwell. In and out, and Silva follows. Carolina certainly with the size advantage today. Holy Cross out of the Patriot League. Heads it outside to Malachi Alexander. And Floyd almost chased it down. is what South Carolina likes to do, move the ball around.
They're going to have to turn down a couple of these threes, not get too happy, and try to get the ball inside first, then kick it outside.
Inside game, a good rebounding team. The previous possession, the offensive board for Silva, they were great at that a year ago.
That's a better look for these guys. You got to get the ball inside, force it in there. Look how high Chris Silva is playing up on the wing. That's what South Carolina wants to do. Don't allow Holy Cross those easy entry passes.
It's a version of the Princeton offense that the Crusaders run. Here's Alexander, one of their stars. And a whistle before the shot.
Chris Silva's a difference maker on both ends of the floor. A momentum changer, second chance points, won them the game against Louisiana Tech. And Chris Silva can get plenty of second chance points, usually top 10 nominees.
Really, the only returning forward that blocked minutes last year. So they're going to lead on Silva. He gets his hand up there. That might be a jump ball. Silva got a finger on Alexander's try. And possession arrow points towards Holy Cross. We're going to stay here. Only 3-point edge for South Carolina. You saw Malachi Alexander just a moment ago. He's one of the seniors in this starting lineup. He scores about 12 a night. That motion offense, you don't rely on really one player to score. Everyone can get in.
And then on a normal team, you think the guards are the shooters, the big men are down low. It's the opposite on Holy Cross. It's their big men who are the three-point threats and the guards that struggle for the perimeter.
Anthony Thompson runs the point. Silva on Alexander slices him off. Shot altered again, and Thornwell's got a second block. Can run a little bit. Silva into the lane. Dozier steps into his first try. Knocks down.
That's just not a shot he made consistently last year. One of the main differences from this year, or from last year to this year, is his ability to make that shot and the confidence he has shooting the ball, even beyond there.
Champion missed it from short range. Dozier, good distributor, and notice he's got a great three-point shot. Hits one.
He's a catch-and-shoot three-point specialist. Doesn't like to do it off the bounce. So as soon as it hits his hands, you better get a hand up.
A lot more confidence for P.J. Dozier. He's from right here in Columbia. At Spring Valley High School. Outside to Alexander. Stretches the floor. And he answers right back with the three.
Coach Carmody warned us it doesn't look pretty, but it's effective.
Alexander, he's a do-it-all player. Well, Holloway a little strong. Champion hits it out to Thompson. And the whistle, foul on Dozier.
Hey, coach, you're in. Don't worry about it. But guess what? They accidentally called it them in instead of Southern Cal. They had the wrong USC. So there was extra salt in the wound for Coach Martin and his team. But everybody knows this is a program that's not going to feel sorry for themselves. They're not going to pout. And they're back here now trying to take care of some unfinished business.
And they've got someone like Frank Martin who he emphasizes ownership, accountability on the floor. It really was a sensational year last season for South Carolina. Remember, before Frank Martin got here, with Aaron Horns last season, they were a 20-loss team. Jump ball on the interior. And it's going to go back to South Carolina.
South Carolina bigs are doing a nice job when the ball gets in there, building a wall, having hands straight up. They've blocked several shots, altered several, and also caused many jump balls.
Here's a Sonny Gravett out on the floor. He's going to run the point.
This should be a better opportunity for Gravett. As I jinx him right now, he goes in there for the charge. I thought he was a little shaky at the point guard versus Louisiana Tech, who likes to press. But with Holy Cross backing up, playing zone, all you have to do is run the offense up top, swing the ball around, get into a rhythm. But Gravett got a little bit excited coming into the game.
Yeah, he's a transfer from Pensacola State College. He was a scorer there. He'll be tasked to come in and, like you said, will be a little flexible around the offense.
And in the long run, I think Rakim Felder will be the backup point guard for P.J. Dozier, and Gravett can focus on scoring. But with Felder still coming back from an injury, hadn't practiced much, we're not sure if we're going to see him tonight or not.
Maybe. He's the freshman. Charles, #1 in the purple. He was injured before this season started in the preseason. Index finger. And he is back. A travel, though, and a turnover.
Point of emphasis this year for officials, traveling on the perimeter, but also in the post. We saw several of those last game. If you saw South Carolina versus Louisiana Tech, it seemed like there was a travel almost every play. So referees really trying to clean up the fundamentals.
And you see the black restricted arc in the paint. Moved out to 4 feet a year ago, and the second year where they're going to keep a close eye on the contact in and around the arc. Thornwell hit. 2 free throws.
Really nice job by Thornwell. There's several ways to penetrate a zone with the pass or off the bounce. And that time Thornwell attacked the gap, found an opening, and pulled up for the jumper to get the foul.
That's first foul on Charles. Thornwell, the senior from Lancaster, South Carolina. He's the preseason SEC first teamer, active scoring leader as well in the SEC. He really is the epitome of someone who can slash in and get some points.
It's been very important to this Gamecock program. This is a team that doesn't really have the high scoring volume, and so when they go in scoring droughts, it's guys like Thornwell who have to bail them out. They've only got a couple guys that can really create their own shots, Thornwell being one of them.
Silva goes up. It's a foul, though. Alexander rising to the rim. That's a second on Silva.
Ooh, maybe he got him a little bit with the body.
And you were just talking with Pat Adams and Joe Lindsay and Jerry Heater, our officials today, about plays like that right around the rim.
Well, and for a team like South Carolina, who's so physical, so aggressive, the early part of the season will be a challenge for them from a foul standpoint, maybe than any other team in the country. Because this is when referees are trying to put all the directives, all the points of emphasis in, and they have a really tight whistle. And so it's not a coincidence that we see multiple bigs in foul trouble for South Carolina now for the second game in a row.
You hear the whistle a lot over the back there for Charles. And that's his second. Carolina, Silver, and Kotsar, both with a pair of fouls. And we've emphasized the bigs for the Gamecocks. We're going to continue to do that just because it's a very tall team. They're big down low, but a little bit of inexperience. Just one of the pass was going for Hadim Key. Comes only cross. Tops it all the way in and gave it right back. Thornwell, this is what we mean when he can attack. And back to the line he goes.
Look at Gravett cuts in front of his man and does just enough to kind of set one of those football pick type plays to open it up for Thornwell.
You know, he got right in Floyd's way, and then Floyd whistled for his first personal. 7 fouls in South Carolina already. That's the 4th on Holy Cross. Gamecocks have the 7-point edge. And grab it to the bench. Thornwell, Frank Martin is comfortable with him. Not only shooting from the outside, but handling the ball. He's really a 3 or a 4, but he can dribble the basketball up and down the floor. He's the coach out there.
There's one guy Coach Martin speaks highly of as far as a coach on the floor, knowing all positions. It's Sindarius Thornwell, which is why it was surprising to see him get beat on the back door a couple times early on, because he leads by example and vocally for this team.
Another shot altered. Here's Rakim Felder for the first time, the freshman, into the corner. Shot on the way for Mackey. And tops it down with the board. It's a deep rotation for South Carolina. They'll play 9 or 10 at least early in the season. Holy Cross looking for a bucket. It's 1 out of their last 8. Champion has an NBA range, and he's long with the shot. Dozier to Mackey. Contarts his way in for 2. Timeout taken by Bill Carmody, and South Carolina on a little bit of a run. Up 10, and they've got the senior. You know, he's our coach on the floor. I want him to get in players' faces, direct everyone out there. And he's the senior, and that's what he's asked to do. Right now, getting a blow on the bench. Holy Cross is looking for a shot. And that was a big one to go down there for Alexander. Just 2 of 11 previously from the floor.
Tut came off his man. I don't think he really needed to help there. Leave a shooter really for no reason at all.
That's Ron Tut you mentioned. He's right on the free throw line. Junior college transfer. Felder going to draw his man in. Open up some space for Dozier. Dan, you love what his game has developed into. What is the key for Dozier this season?
I've got the man crush on P.J. Dozier right now. This kid's good, man. I called his games last year, liked him okay, but this year he has grown leaps and bounds. You can just tell by the swagger he has, the confidence, the decision-making, as we see another backdoor play from Holy Cross. But Dozier had the benefit of going to the Steph Curry camp where he served as a counselor, but then also after you serve the counselor duties, you get to watch film with Steph Curry, get to work out with those types of guys, some of the top guards in the country. And it's just had a whole different mindset and focus since that camp.
He went out to California for that. Only 40 were invited. Dozier was one. Got Felder's first try.
That's a bonus. That's really not what he's known for. More of a bowling ball, penetrator, lockdown, tough defender. But if he can add that to the game, he can give them a true offensive weapon.
Felder, one of the freshmen. How about another backdoor cut? This time it's Patrick Benzin with the bucket.
South Carolina's seen some of this against Kevin Stallings when he was at Vanderbilt, but nobody quite runs it like Coach Carmody does.
And he was an assistant for Pete Carrill, who, of course, at Princeton, invents the Princeton offense. A lot of motion. Off the turnover, Benzin looking for back-to-back shots. Champion, one more. So Holy Cross has got it back to 7. You see plenty of coaches still running offense like that. Bob McKillop at Davidson, a lot of motion. Holy Cross as well. Like you said, previous years at Vanderbilt. Dozier into traffic. Felder has hit one, getting late in the shot clock. Mackey, nice little touch there. That's his first basket. Pardon, that's a second.
Yeah, really nice job by Mackey, not settling late in the shot clock. A younger type player would have just hoisted it up, but the veteran knew what to do towards the end of the clock.
He's from Columbia, went to Irmo High School.
See, this isn't enough pressure by the Gamecocks. Dribble out on backdoor. They're letting them operate their offense too freely on the perimeter.
Alexander from Maryland drops it off down to the post with 1 to shoot. Got a nice little touch there. Frank Martin. That's a task with a tough non-conference schedule to start. This is an NCAA tournament team, Holy Cross. Play Monmouth in a bit. Dozier again.
And if you're Coach Carmody, the zone is still your best chance because you're not as athletic as South Carolina at every single position, so you have to hope that South Carolina starts missing some of these three-point shots.
Lead is 10. Alexander again, that's his spot. He already has 8.
South Carolina, traditionally, they sink on penetration. Now, what's that mean? When the ball goes into the lane, guys come down and help aggressively, but with the quick kickouts, and you have a guy like Alexander with the quick trigger and shoots it high over his head, Tut's going to have to close out a lot harder and faster.
And we've got Frank Martin wired this afternoon. Right off the bat, they are tested. Darius Thornwell back out there. It's the first look. And a whistle. This one may be and over the back there on Hadim Gee. That's just his first, the 7-foot freshman from Senegal. You know, that's Frank goes to that rotation. Hey, if your bigs pick up a couple fouls, he'll get you out of there. Mike Kotsar, you see, he has 2, and Chris Silva as well with a pair.
Holy Cross has done a really nice job responding since that foul trouble. They were down 18-8 and were only 2 for 11. And then coming out of that break, all of a sudden they made 6 out of 7 shots, 8 for 18, got themselves back into the game. It's now going at the pace and tempo that they want. South Carolina would prefer a more up and down style, whereas Holy Cross is in this zone, wants to kill clock and run offense patiently.
A little bit of that 1-3-1 zone after Husek's free throws. Short shot there. Thornwell tips it back to himself. South Carolina, best offensive rebounding team of the SEC a year ago, and Thornwell rewards himself with the bucket. He has 6 top returning scorer after Michael Carrera graduated a year ago. He's not playing over in Russia. Here you go, that slow pace. Another cut, champion into traffic. Offensive foul, and Thornwell steps in on both ends of the floor.
Holy Cross will test your discipline as a defense. If you get backdoored, South Carolina usually has a back man there to help. Thornwell taking care of his boy Dozier there.
Good defense on Friday night for Thornwell. He distributed the ball well on the offensive side. Dwayne Notice, another 1,000-point score to grab it. Too strong, Husek with the board. The Crusaders want 1 shot, and let's clear it. So late in the first half. Husek can stretch it a bit. Gamecocks picked 8th out of 14 preseason in the SEC. Now, last year finished 3rd in the standings. Notice.
Well, that's 2 possessions in a row. Now, South Carolina has entered Thornwell at the 4. He is playing their 4 spot right now. 2 possessions ago, they got it to him inside. He gets an and 1. But 2 straight, they overlook him, take a quick 3. You have to be patient. And Thornwell is your best option on the post right now, given the foul trouble that the Gamecocks have.
South Carolina's taken 10 threes already in the first half. This one out of bounds. Pat Adams says it's going back to the Gamecocks. Anthony Thompson, he's that senior point guard, played a lot of minutes last year. Glendale, Maryland. And he is always at the top of that 1-3-1 zone. Notice right into his own man that time, Alexander the Bull. Bends and leaves it off for Husek. Crusaders sticking around here within 5. And there's a whistle. Right at the top of the conference a year ago with Kentucky, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now. You know, who is that team behind the Wildcats? A&M lost Daniel House.
They're replacing quite a bit. There's a new freshman down there, Robert Williams, in the post, who's very athletic. Looked good in their opener. They were a little bit sloppy like most teams in their opening win. But, of course, Tyler Davis on the inside, one of the best big men in the country. And Admon Gilder running the show at point for them. They've got plenty of talent. The cupboard is not bare by any means, but you always wonder who's going to replace the leadership and the consistency after the upperclassmen graduate.
Yeah, Davis is a load. 7-point edge for South Carolina. They've been up since the first minute or so. And kind of the same way the game on Friday shook out.
They're throwing in a little bit of zone on their own. Try to get Holy Cross out of their rhythm. They've gotten too comfortable. See if they can't force a bad shot.
This one from a mile away and grab it down with the board. Redshirt sophomore from Georgia finds notice, but he took an extra step. That's a travel. And it's Bill Carmody's offense. Just his second year at Holy Cross. Before he was hired last year, I didn't think he was going to be a head coach again. He was an advisor at Fairfield in Connecticut. And Holy Cross's athletic director, Ethan Pine, said, we need someone with the experience. Brings 13 years coaching at a Big Ten school. NCAA tournament. First year right off the bat. The ball pinballing around, and grab it now has a chance. No numbers, though. So South Carolina went with a little zone just before that timeout. You think that's the way to go defensively?
It's helped a couple times to disrupt Holy Cross. Just get them outside of their rhythm. South Carolina's not a zone-type team, but you got to get them out of the rhythm.
Good pass from Holloman, but Thornwell couldn't finish. And a new 30. Notice for three.
That's a positive play for Gravett. He struggled. He's had his turnovers, hadn't made his shots, but just penetrating in the lane, making the right decision, and finding notice for the three. That's what Frank Martin wants him to do if he's going to have any type of role as a point guard player.
You know, Gravett coming from the junior college program, what is that transition like to jump immediately into not just D1 ball, but SEC basketball?
Oh, the speed, the discipline of the game, just defensively is where junior college guys really seem to struggle with the transition.
That's an over their back on Husek. And his first foul. So he sets up his teammate nicely here.
Takes the dribble, penetrate, kick, knows his personnel. He's got a shooter on the wing. Perfect execution by Gravett.
Tell you what, you leave Notice that much space, and he will burn you. Had 3 triples on Friday. He's really that three-point specialist from beyond the arc.
He's not going to come off screens too often. He's not going to get you off the dribble. It's that catch and shoot and transition. And in that case, the easiest time to get an open three is off a missed shot when the whole defense is packed in, and that's what happened as Gravett picked up the loose ball and found Notice.
Notice from Toronto. Loves talking about Canadian basketball. Low-hanging fruit. He's a Drake fan, of course. Derek Scott.
I think you were from Canada as much Drake you've been playing the past 2 days, man. God, really can't get enough of it.
You hang around, notice enough. Here's Gravett sitting with Matt Figger. He's been with Frank Martin since their days at Kansas State. It's a good staff, too, Frank has around him as well. But late in the first, slim lead has been stretched out to 12 now for the Gamecocks. Pass to no one. Alexander trying to bail himself out here in the corner. And Thornwell strips it away. Jump ball. Alexander might have got his arm in there, but good recognition to get his pops right back on that basketball. And it's going to stay with Holy Cross.
It seemed like the jump ball was coming up here, but then after Thornwell took it away, that's when the foul occurred. That's a brave official to make that type of call next to Frank Martin. Yeah, good discipline by Coach Martin to have the humor and laugh it off. I'd say the old Frank Martin might have got a T right there.
Well, Frank's a bit more nimble on the sideline there. He said he lost some weight in the offseason. He can hop up and down there. Now, Martin was rewarded for his efforts a year ago. Back in April, picked up a 4-year contract extension, so he's here through 2022. And yeah, that time Charles just had to let it go. A shot clock violation. There was only a couple left after the tie-up, so 2 to go in the first. And the Gamecocks are trying to slide away here going into the break, trying to string a couple baskets together. Holy Cross playing tough, though. They were picked 4th out of 10 preseason in the Patriot League. South Carolina's hit a couple triples here to extend the lead. Notice the main reason why. 6 to shoot. Dozier lets it fly. And another one. Dozier with 3 from beyond the arc. Holy Cross trying to slice into this run. Charles didn't like the look. Champion.
They're going to need more of that. Holy Cross just isn't a very good three-point shooting team, which is why this zone has affected them so much.
And Thornwell answers right back. Lead back to 15 for the Gamecocks. And now both teams are hitting from downtown. Seven triples for South Carolina, 4 for Holy Cross. Champion just hit one. Another good-looking shot. This is some street ball now with from one end to the other.
Champion have a little fun with the front row seats over there too. A little trash talk.
He just gave him a look again. But when you hit it, why not? 3 to play. Notice might have double dribbled. And that was Pat Adams whistled for the walk. And Holy Cross will have a chance here to hoist one up. 12-point game. This is Thompson to let it fly. That's from 40.
The angel on his right shoulder said, just walk away, Frank.
He's got the high step there going on the sideline.
He's one of the best. I know he's animated. Oh, big lob.
Oh, went up top that time.
But anybody that's spent any time with Frank Martin in practice, outside of practice, is one of the best in the business. Great person.
Took Kansas State to an Elite Eight a few years ago. Yeah, he said it even last month at SEC Media Day. We thought we were in, and 7 months later, after falling short of the NCAA tournament field at 24-8, he still thinks about it. It's tough to let go. He won one more game of the NIT, which tied the program record. Champion sets his feet. That didn't hit anything. He hit a couple threes at the end of the first, but nothing there.
Much better man-to-man defense execution that time. Again, South Carolina, one reason they struggled probably in the first half defensively is you got Kotsar and Silver who were out with 2 fouls for the majority of that half. Now they got their full starting lineup.
Yeah, Kotsar 21 in white, and then Silva on the opposite block. There's another whistle. Yeah, that time is Jahiva Floyd with his 3rd. Well, Carmody went up his bench, talked to Matt Husek, the other forward, almost to say, don't do what Floyd just did there. Thornwell that time finds Silva. Shot altered. Alexander got a piece of it. Kotsar with a 3rd look. He's fouled and going back to the line. And he's the freshman. Maybe didn't need that dribble, but he's got the free throws.
Inside shots lead to inside rebounds, and if you don't believe me, just watch this sequence. Multiple opportunities and putback chances. That was a big key to their win versus Louisiana Tech on Friday. And in the first half, 7-2 in second chance points in favor of South Carolina, with Kotsar trying to make that 9-2.
I thought what was interesting, when Frank Martin was talking to us yesterday, that he said this crop of bigs I had. Remember, Limonis, Kevicius, Mindaugas, Kaichinis, Carrera. Well, that was the big trio a year ago. Great trio. He said the guys that we're seeing now are going to be better. They're more athletic.
An easier pronunciation, guys, for you and me. You know? I love Kaichinis and Kevicius, but I messed their names up too many times.
Nice finish for Champion. He's got to get back up and run the floor. Martin, a forgiving man for everyone. There's Dozier again. A little bit too strong. Silva. That one pinball to him. He's got now 6.
One of the hardest shots to rebound as a defender are bricks and air balls, because the location is so unpredictable and it comes flying off the backboard. In that case, just flying over everybody's heads and becomes a loose ball situation.
You like what you saw from Silva yesterday. High energy, positive player.
Extremely coachable, which you have to be if you're going to play in Frank Martin's program.
Just the sophomore whistle. Count the bucket. So Thompson's knifes his way in. It's his first basket, and it is Silva.
And Kevin, if there's one thing that we saw emphasized in yesterday's practice, it was individual and Chris Silva. Keep your hands off. Get in good defensive position. They're going to call fouls on you. And when he gets in those ball screen situations, or in that case, helping on a penetration, he's got to be more solid defensively. And it's going to be a challenge for him all year long if he can.
And Coach Martin is trying to push him from just a 15-minute-a-game guy to that 25 to 30-minute realm. You can't do it with 3 fouls, or when you're in foul trouble. He was a bit a year ago. So Mackey comes in. He's in the other corner. This is Thornwell. Tip pass to Mackey. Hit this shot in the first half and does it on the other end.
I like the adjustment by Coach Martin and their staff. When foul trouble occurs, they're going small with a 4-guard type lineup that allows them to penetrate that zone defensive hole across.
Thompson wants a screen. Notice is all the way up there. That may be an offensive foul, and it is. Husek shoved off his defender that time. And Carmody not happy. Champion, rather. And that's going to be foul number 2. There he goes to the bench.
Champion, one of the few 3-point threats on this Holy Cross team. One of your offensive weapons on the bench, not a good thing for Coach Carmody.
Dozier, nice quick step. Offensive foul, though. He was up in the air, and this time it is Husek who slides in there and draws the charge. Second foul on Dozier.
Really nice job. 42 in purple comes over, keeps his position, certainly outside the restricted area.
And he got there before Dozier took off. There's a whistle. That may be another one on Dozier, and it is.
Well, the South Carolina perimeter defenders are getting beat off the dribble, straight line drives to the right. It got Silva in foul trouble, and now you've got Dozier who comes over. Same play, you just got to be able to guard the ball better. The Holy Cross guards, as Coach Carmody told us earlier today in shoot-around, they're not shake and bake type players, killer crossovers. They are straight line drive penetrators.
So Silva to the bench a moment ago. Hassani Gravett is set to check in for Dozier. There's a chance for the Crusaders. Make a little noise. A couple starters to the bench.
You'll get driving opportunities against South Carolina because they pressure so hard on the perimeter. It makes them a little bit vulnerable to some of these straight line drives. Therefore, it can lead to foul trouble with the bigs.
I saw Thompson there frustrated with the first miss. He's a great free throw shooter, 80% a year ago. South Carolina looking to start 2-0 with a win. There's a whistle inside and a little pushing and shoving. And it's Matt Husek once again, his second foul.
With this lineup, what South Carolina wants to do with Thornwell at the 4, they want to try to get the ball to him in the high post. If he doesn't have it, allow the defense to sink in, and he'll find a shooter on the outside.
He can play the 4, the 3, anywhere, and he'll play every day. He started all 103 games in his career. Notice, trying to follow the shot up to Thompson. Gamecocks trying to get to the NCAA tournament this year for the first time in 12 years. We're so close a year ago. 25-win season left out. To Charles. And a new 30-second shot clock. The 3 here gets it back to 10. I think Carmody wants a little more movement here. Alexander tried to hit the cutter back door and deflects to Charles, caught underneath. Here comes South Carolina. Thornwell for three. Here's Alexander. We haven't seen him try to body down a defender yet. First try, and here's Gravett. Nine threes for South Carolina. Thornwell for number 10. A little bit off that time. Martin is certainly okay with that shot. Thornwell, he says, that knows the whole playbook. He can play everywhere, can really do everything. Egg dance, not since a year ago had he done that. Cross trying to cut into the lead. Alexander's tip. And the ball is loose to Thornwell. They're going to run right here. Grab it, the baseline move. That's a confidence booster.
And what else is a confidence booster is P.J. Dozier went out of this game after picking up that foul, and it was 50-37. Gravett comes in, and they extend the lead by 5. That's a great sign for backup guard play with both Gravett and now Felder in the game to help him out as well.
Floyd off to Thompson. And Martin admitted exhibition game a little bit in that opener. Gravett was a little nervous, and assumedly so. First year after playing at the junior college level, but Gravett's a big key. A whistle, though, and Holy Cross has it underneath the hoop. That's Gravett's second. And Gravett will be pushed. One of the reasons why he came here, because Frank Martin will do that. And his back-to-back fouls, that's only the first on Thornwell.
It is certainly tough love, though. Frank Martin can get on his players, but those players love Frank Martin like none other in the country.
Champion in traffic there. They'll need a couple buckets. String it together. Gravett's head coach at Pensacola State College, Pete Pena, he said he's very similar to Martin. He will be pushed, like you mentioned, Kotsar. To find that good look, and it's Gravett's. Thornwell with the offensive board. He has a few of those today. A little bit of everything. 17 points for Thornwell. This is tough for a defense. Defending for 30 seconds back-to-back, and Thompson commits the personal.
Good patience by South Carolina. High IQ offensive possession there. What I liked about at the beginning of the possession, Kotsar got the ball inside. He got stripped, was in traffic. Most young guys will go up and throw up a jump tough two. He kicked it back out so they could run more offense, which is really a mature type decision for a young guy.
Floyd out, Husak back in. And Hadim Gee. Ron Tutt set to check in for South Carolina. You mentioned patience a lot today, describing this Gamecocks team. Could that be their most interesting asset this season as a team?
Well, and especially in tonight's game, where Holy Cross wants to dictate tempo, make you play their style, and South Carolina has pushed in transition when they could. But when it didn't go their way, they've been able to manufacture points in the half court, which has been Holy Cross's game plan, is make South Carolina beat you in half court possessions.
Thompson wants his teammates to move a bit. Thompson, a lightning rod. He's been all over the place. He's point guard for Holy Cross. You leave a good shooter open, and Champion can't hit. Would have got it back to 15, but South Carolina could go up 20 or more right now in the bucket. Coming up on the midway mark of the second half. Gamecocks winners on Friday, trying to start 2-0. This is Holy Cross's first game, by the way. Mackey, and swishes another. Justin Mackey's a great senior off the bench.
9-2 run now with P.J. Dozier going to the bench.
And a whistle stops play. I think Malachi Alexander might have gotten cut on the elbow. And Jerry Heater wants him to head to the bench just to clean himself up there. Justin Mackey just put South Carolina up 20 with 11:39 left in the second. Gamecocks on their way to starting 2-0.
Will help turn that around. A lot of terrific coaches in this league. Everybody feels really good about the coaches we have on board in the SEC. However, those coaches have had to take over some programs that needed big rebuilding jobs. We look at Rick Barnes at Tennessee, and I would say Auburn right now is probably most primed to take the next step, as Coach Pearl's got several of his recruits in now.
Bruce Pearl was your coach. What has he brought to Auburn?
Well, at this point now, he's brought more talent. Of course, he brought the excitement and the PR and the marketing, but now he has the players to play the exciting style of play. Turn people over, run and gun, high scoring. They let three balls fly left and right last game versus North Florida, and they seem to be off to a really strong start with some strong talent.
Traveling violation that time on Hadim Gee. I thought Coach Kennedy said something pretty poignant last month. Coach Kennedy down at Ole Miss, and it should be this league, the SEC, 4, 5, 6 bid conference to the NCAA tournament, but that wasn't the case last year. And then only Kentucky in the preseason top 25. And that's a given anyway.
And one of those new coaches in his second year didn't have quite the rebuilding job, but still had plenty of work to do. Mike White at Florida, they're looking really strong. A lot of depth, a lot of talent returning. And Mike White, who's looking for his first trip to the NCAA tournament, appears to be on his way. When Florida is better, the SEC is better, obviously. That's one of those programs that the SEC has to have, be consistent to gain the national respect.
Felder, Gravitt, Mackey. Outside for South Carolina, Silva, and then Holloman in there. Inside, and Silva hammers it in. Good look.
I would expect Chris Silva to be in the top 5 to 10 in the SEC in field goal percentage, because a lot of his field goal attempts are going to be what you saw right there.
Last year led the team. His field goal percentage was at 48%. And it should go up. That's a high percentage look for Husak, and he's not a bad shooter for a 6'10" forward. Gravitt, he's got his confidence now to attack the rim, and his head coach Martin gets up and applauds. Nice effort.
Well, the ball gets reversed. You get a nice skip pass from Rakim, and then all of a sudden, that's your opportunity to drive the ball. Not off the first dribble or off the first pass.
22-point lead for South Carolina. Carl Charles and Holy Cross has got to put something together quick. Silva, well, he's a big presence down there.
Gravitt distributes the ball to Silva, who knows what to do with it from there, and then this time, he takes it on his own.
So you got Thornwell back in there, plus Kotsar, so a couple starters return.
Holy Cross had really done a nice job up until a few minutes ago of taking some of the hits, taking some of the blows, and not letting South Carolina go on that long run. But it's the bench play from South Carolina that really stepped up when P.J. Dozier got in foul trouble. And Holy Cross just hasn't had the firepower offensively, don't necessarily have the athletes, but still a team with a bright promise and future, because it's interesting. This is a team that brought back most everybody from last year. And the good news is this was an NCAA tournament team. The bad news is they lost 20 games. So you don't know if you're getting back the team that lost 20 games or the team that went on the Cinderella run into the NCAA tournament. I think that's what most fans are going to be watching for following Holy Cross.
To get to the NCAA tournament, Holy Cross had to win 4 straight road games. Patriot League tournament, you just play at the campus sites. And they probably went 4-0. That was after going 0-9 on the road in league play.
March is a beautiful thing.
Right, that's the story of March, isn't it? South Carolina hopes to finish like that maybe this season. Thornwell, why not another from downtown? And the lead has grown to 24 for the Gamecocks. Frank Martin told us that this year's team should be better. It's tough to outdo a 25-win season, but this team should be better. What do you think from the looks? Do you think that could be the case?
Last year's team peaked sooner because they had the veterans. They had the seniors returning with Michael Carrera and the leadership. This year's team, by the end of the year, has a chance to be better than last year's team. But I think they'll peak towards the end of the season, and that's where you'll see great improvement from these young group of guys. But they've got a good mix of young stars and Chris Silva, PJ Dozier. They have good leadership with Sindarius Thornwells and Dwayne Notice. And so there's a lot of things to be excited for. And honestly, I thought they were going to take more of a dip. And it's still yet to be seen, given what they had to replace from last year. But after seeing them practice and after a game or two, I think they might just do better than last year's team and get into the NCAA tournament.
They certainly, right around that 20-win mark is realistic. And it's up to them to maybe make that step forward at the tail end of the season. That's a foul, and it takes us to a timeout. Everything dropping from downtown. Even this one, Sindarius Thornwell. He's got 20, lighting it up.
South Carolina, recruited by Coach Figger, and of course, Coach Martin closes the deal, gets guys to campus, and shows them that tough love. And a big reason why the player development, we see Chris Silva make the jump from freshman year to sophomore year, is because of the influence and the great coaches and people he has around him.
I think the recipe was there. His mother ran track. His father was 7 feet.
You and I right now, if we're thirsty, we'll ask the sweet lady Martha right next to us for a bottle of water. Back where he's from, if he was thirsty, he was the strongest kid around. Travel a mile, go to the well, bring it back, carry it on your shoulders, then go drink.
That's what he had to do.
That's what he had to do. Comes over here at the age of 15, as you mentioned, has not been back since. And here he is, a star in the SEC.
I mean, watch him in practice, too, and you wouldn't know it either. Nice hit that time by Champion, that he is still relatively new to the States. He's loud, he's passionate. He's just a sophomore doing that. He's comfortable. Up top, that one slapped away. Charles sniffed it out. Silva was looking for the hammer. And South Carolina with 6 to go. Up big, and they have been up big most of the second half. Went into the break up 12, and it just extended it. Holy Cross, they were within 5 a couple times late in the first. And a tie-up. Now Silva and Alexander there fighting for it. And just had their elbows locked up that time. I think Alexander was just trying not to tumble on Silva's noggin right there. So you get a couple out of the way here from South Carolina. You know, big double-digit win against Louisiana Tech. You know, up 22 right now, but get ready because Michigan comes here. They play 19th ranked Syracuse in a couple weeks. That's up in Brooklyn. That's New York. Syracuse travels well. Charles, that's his dominant hand, and fouled that time. So free throws on the way. So the schedule's tough.
Yeah, and I know what Frank Martin would say. Hey, we got Monmouth coming up. And anybody that hadn't paid attention to Monmouth, you better pay attention out of the MAC, because last year they beat UCLA, they beat Notre Dame, they beat USC, and then they got upset in March and lost to Iona in the MAC championship. But they returned 5'8" Justin Robinson, MAC Player of the Year. And Monmouth, they live for games like this to go on the road. And based on their success last year, there's going to be plenty of examples in the film room for Coach Martin to show his team what Monmouth can do to top-notch programs.
Well, could the bench live up to the hype as well? They set the bar.
Yeah, that's right.
They set the bar high a year ago.
Yeah. If you hadn't seen them, YouTube the Monmouth bench, because if they were in the NFL, they would get fined every single play for the celebrations that they give after made threes and baskets.
Yeah, that foul on Robert Champion that time. Antonio Brown may take that GA job at Monmouth just so he can join the festivities. By the way, one more game tomorrow on ESPN, the Giants and the Bengals. Sunday in the fall, we've got hoops for you today. South Carolina up big.
I see how you got your New York Giants promo, man. Don't forget the Philadelphia Eagles won today. You got to say that on the air, because I know how much it pains you to say that.
So I'm on the Carson Wentz train.
We'll have you come on board.
And you know they did lose to the Giants.
Hey, we're not talking about the past. We're talking about today.
I'm on board as long as the score is fixed the right way. That's Champions 4. Dozier's at the line. We'll join Sean, Coach Gruden, and Elisa tomorrow. Dozier.
Scenario where he really needs to improve, and it's just all a confidence thing. Last year, field goal percentage 38%, 21% from three, and 58% from the line. Obviously, we've seen here tonight a much better shooter than those numbers, and they're going to need him to knock down key free throws down the stretch in games as the primary ball handler. But it was some big-time growing pains last year for him, and he played pretty well. But think about it, as a freshman coming in, one night you got Tyler Ulis, the next night you got Stephen Moody. Even teams that weren't that competitive like Auburn had Kareem Canty, a nightmare at the point guard position. This year, not as dominant, not as point guard heavy, so I think P.J. Dozier up there with guys like Casey Hill and J.J. Frazier in terms of returning players are your top point guards in the league.
Coach Sarr bodies inside that time, and Alexander gets it. It's foul number 3. Coach Sarr. And for Dozier, too, these are the games you certainly want to boost your own confidence. Coach Martin would say, hey, a 20-point victory, okay, that can only help us so much. But he's asked Dozier to speak up more and be more of a vocal leader. I think you get that confidence under the belt. That can only help it.
Replacing talent can sometimes be easier than replacing leadership. And when you lose a guy like Michael Carrera last year, who was the heart and soul of the team, it's got to be by committee, because those types of leaders only come around so often. So as Coach Martin told us, he said, look, when it gets quiet in practice and Thornwell and Notice and Dozier aren't speaking up, he goes, I'm getting on them, because if you don't say something, I'm about to get on these new guys and we'll all be running sprints. So it's up to the senior leaders and the sophomore point guard, P.J. Dozier, to keep everybody in check.
And there he is. Coach Sarr at the other end. Acrobatic finish.
But, you know, on the vocal leadership thing, I mean, as a freshman coming in, you're more concerned about being in the right spot on defense, and you're thinking so hard about doing the right thing. Now that the game is more natural, you can speak, and you got more time to be vocal, because otherwise you had too much on your mind and you couldn't worry about everybody else. You were just trying to do your job.
And you ran the point of an SEC school down in Tennessee. What was that process like? Like you said, laying it out to making that step forward?
Well, especially as a freshman, it was a rude awakening. I mean, all along in your life, you think you know what hard work is, and you think you've prepared yourself, and then all of a sudden you realize, wait a minute, there's a whole nother level of work ethic that comes with this, and I better get on board because the rest of the SEC is going to whoop us. And there's a guy named Rashad Wright that played at Georgia, who's a senior point guard. My first SEC game, I had, I think, 3 or 4 turnovers in the first half against him, and from that point on, I knew I had to have a new level of dedication.
Defense from Dozier leads to the bucket on the other end for Mackey. St. Aggies, remember, they're led by Tyler Davis. They take on USC, the Trojans, at Rita in College Station right here on the SEC Network. And it's also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Texas A&M in the SEC Championship game a year ago against Kentucky. That was a great game. And A&M is that next team behind Kentucky in the preseason rankings, along with Florida. We may see some noise from Georgia this season as well. Trying to figure out who's in that layer right beneath Kentucky.
Like you mentioned, there's favorites with Florida and A&M, but I think it's up for grabs. This South Carolina team certainly impresses me. You've got Arkansas with Moses Kingsley and Dusty Hannah's back, and they've got 2 of the top junior college players returning or coming on board with their roster who look sharp in the opener. And I just really like Auburn. I think they've got the depth this year. They can play the style that Coach Pearl likes, which allows him to overachieve for the lack of size that they have down low. They'll make up for in speed and possessions and turnovers. And so there's a lot of interesting storylines out there of who's going to creep up. And I know the expectations are low for the SEC. Only one team being Kentucky in the preseason top 25. But I think by the end of the year, you'll see several more in there, and it'll be a more accomplished season than it was a year ago.
And Chris Silva is at the line when we return. South Carolina's trying to be one of those teams elevating to the top up big here on Sunday.
Who's ready to tail?
20 points.
Motherload.
Back with the former Tennessee Vol, Dane Bradshaw, Kevin Fitzgerald. Darius Thornwell, a solid night, 20 points. Good opening weekend for the senior. So there's where South Carolina comes into the preseason poll at 8. We just brought it up a moment ago. Who is that team behind Kentucky? You've mentioned your former coach, Bruce Pearl, a couple times. I thought he hit the nail on the head before the season and said, hey, the last time I coached in this league, certainly now the league as a whole is better. The top of the league is not. And that's kind of the issue right now, or the perceived issue, I think is the way you have to put it.
Expectations are low, but I think that'll change by the end of this year. You mentioned Auburn. I think Georgia's a wild card as well. Interested to see. They've got probably the best returning duo when you look at J.J. Frazier and Yante Mayton. But who else on that team? They have Juwan Parker back, Derek Akbede. They have to fill that gap. Who's going to be on the front court next to Yante Mayton to allow Georgia to take the next step? They always seem to be on the bubble towards the end of the year, so non-conference play is as important to the Bulldogs as it is any team, because it seems like in the past, 1 or 2 of those games is what keeps them in or out.
And Georgia, 4th preseason, you saw it a moment ago. Holy Cross was in this one for a bit late in the first half. They were within 5 for a few moments. There's a triple for Zignorski, no, and Tamarcus Blanton into the game.
As a whole, though, with the league, everybody's scheduling tougher. I mean, we talk about the games coming up versus Monmouth even. That is a good RPI game, which improves the resume of teams like South Carolina, so that once you get into league play, the problem has been in the past, if you need to gain ground in the SEC, it was only Kentucky or maybe A&M. Those were your only 2 ways to really improve your tournament resume. Now, with the way people are scheduling, the RPI should be better, the strength of schedule, to where you can gain more quality wins once league play begins instead of just being all in on Kentucky.
Good knockdown for Blanton. And the selection committee is always fickle. We heard the big buzzword this past March was top 50 RPI wins, top 50 RPI wins. And okay, why didn't South Carolina get in? It's a 24-win program. They only had 1. Another 3 down and out.
Well, and one of the problems with South Carolina wasn't that they did cupcake scheduling, but the fact that they had Memphis and Drexel on their schedule last year, for example. Well, coming into the year, that was pretty good. But then Austin Nichols at Memphis transfers. Their season kind of goes down the tubes. Drexel has graduate transfers that leave. And before you know it, South Carolina wins those games, but it didn't do anything for their resume.
Felder with a hand in his face. And so that's why a 15-0 start is maybe all for naught. But things, only 2 games in, but things are looking good right now. The lead 30+. And we'll have Coach Martin here to break this one down in a few moments. Holy Cross, a team with good shooters. They didn't hit too many today. There's the freshman Clayton Lasson from Switzerland. They're high on him. They should be just fine in the Patriot League. But South Carolina, 2-0 start. The motto is unfinished business. A good start to the 2016-2017 season